Really weird video. The short version is that KVM is legit though. That thing's really cool. If you've been looking for a really high grade KVM, at least now I've answered the question of which one you should buy. You should totally buy that one if you need one that's really reliable. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On our last episode on Dad's computer over here, at the very end of it I said he is primarily going to continue using his Windows XP computer, and he is just going to use this guy for the internet. There's a good many reasons for that, but the biggest reason for that is I'm not going to upset an old man that likes what he's doing already into any more hassle than I have to, and we're just going to ask him to use the internet on this one. I'm going to disable it on his XP machine, and there's actually nothing wrong with that for the way he uses them. And then he's got modern operating system and security updates and all that stuff to do his internet stuff, and he can do everything else in a 15-year-old operating system and be perfectly happy. However, that gives me another problem. He still only has one keyboard, one mouse, and one monitor. That's all he has space for, and that's all he wants. We've already concluded that his existing mouse isn't going to work out with the setup I have in mind, and the reason for that is my dad is an avid solitaire player on his computer. You could laugh or whatever, but he's got like some special solitaire package that he's played over 1 million games in. And I'm not exaggerating. He's played over 1 million games, or like 1.3 million or something. And he has these side buttons. This mouse has little custom side buttons you can click, set up to automatically double click for him. Ever since we got our first like decent Logitech mouse in like, let's say, the mid-90s, he has had one button set up to double click automatically for him the entire time. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't actually double click like normal people. The mouse he has now does not work with a regular keyboard, video, mouse switch box. Those are called KVMs. And he also wants to be able to switch his printer between both computers, because sometimes he still wants to be able to print out an email or something, and that, you know, this guy's the internet computer. So this has created a bunch of problems for me. At least one problem we got solved relatively easily is he went down the store and found a mouse that he likes that fits his hand well and all that. So he's happy with this mouse. This is brand new mouse and keyboard. But the other problem is I bought a KVM that was like 40 bucks, and it just would not support Logitech set point between Windows XP and Windows 10. In fact, I don't think it worked at all for the little double click feature, and it's going to kill him if he has to get rid of that. So we got to find a way to make that work. And we got to find a way to get the printer to switch between computers too, and it's a USB printer. Enter this guy. This is a ConnectPRO UR12 Plus Master IT USB KVM switch with DDM. And apparently that with DDM is what's important to us. This is the most expensive KVM I've ever seen. You can get bigger versions of this that get more expensive for like managing 10 computers. This thing is just for 2 computers and was 150 bucks. It is the only one I found that is pretty much guaranteed to do what we want to do. But I've got this odd feeling it's not going to go quite as smoothly as we think it's going to go. But this is what we got to try now, and I've got like a day to see if this thing's going to work, or I need to return it, because I'm certainly not going to sit on a $150 KVM I don't need. And if you guys are as smart as I think you are and you've been paying attention, the next question you're going to ask is, how are we ever going to check Windows XP compatibility between the new machine and his old XP machine that he's using right now that you don't see sitting here? And the answer to that is arguably the worst laptop that Dell ever built. This is a Dell Inspiron 1150. This one I've happened to have upgraded as far as it can go. I forget what Pentium 4 is in it, but the biggest Pentium 4 it'll support. It's got as much RAM as it'll support. It's got a DVD burner in it that I had to custom fit. There's a long story why I own this thing and why I outfitted it the way it is and everything else. But just know, this is a terrible laptop that I think just about put Dell out of business. These things were notorious for overheating, and I think there were even fires with these. So yeah, don't ever own one. However, since this one's sitting here, and the only thing it's capable of running is XP and prior, it's just good to have around, because you never know when you'll need Windows XP, and today was the day where I needed it. So this is going to be our Windows XP surrogate. Don't ever buy one of these laptops, not that anyone would ever be tempted to. But now I got to put all this crap together, plus my printer, and wire this all up and see if we can make something happen. So here's our pile of complete ridiculousness. Down there on the end, we have our XP laptop. There's Dad's new desktop. The KVM is on top of it. Back there just in the corner is my printer, my monitor, his keyboard and mouse. And we've already had a promising result because as soon as I plugged the printer into the KVM, and that's with everything else off, the printer just turned itself on automatically. And the KVM also has some kind of internal speaker and it beeps every time you plug a USB in. I'm saying this is all good news, except I see a whole bunch of lights flashing on the front of the KVM. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that's not awesome. We'll see. I technically have it plugged into one of the ports for keyboard and mouse, but we're actually using the Logitech unified receiver, USB receiver, so it only needs one port. I was hoping I could get away with that. Moving on, if you're unfamiliar with this whole idea at all, I'll give you a brief rundown. Over there we've got a VGA and a USB connected to the XP machine. They come up into the KVM and connect right there. Then those two right there connect to the tower right here. Then that monitor connection goes off to the actual monitor. And the USB cord you see coming out is what's going into the printer right now. And then right next to it, right there, is the Logitech unifying dongle for the keyboard and mouse. So that is plugged into the KVM, the screen's plugged into the KVM, and the printer's plugged into the KVM. The KVM may be upset about how I've got the printer plugged in because it wasn't blinking like that before, I don't think. I'd say the first thing we're going to do is probably just turn the power on and off to everything and turn it back on and see what happens. And then we'll probably try and boot the Windows 10 machine and see if it can find my printer and all that stuff. And it's a question on my mind whether or not I can even get Windows XP drivers for my printer, so we'll see. So as soon as I turn the power back on, everything that just sits there and flashes. I'm assuming that's because no computer's turned on, or at least I'm praying. Computer 2 is the Windows 10 machine, I think. Let's turn it on and see what happens. Well, it knows it's on now because the color of that light changes. And it's passing video. So it is on and going through the KVM. We have mouse, we have keyboard. I don't see printer. I'm just going to try and unplug the printer from the KVM and see if those lights stop flashing. They did. They immediately stopped flashing. So let's try and plug it into the front ports. Okay, so those lights aren't flashing. Are we going to get lucky and that Windows is just going to pick up on that printer right away? Printers and scanners. Come on, pretty please, pretty please. I'm going to guess the fact that this is taking forever is not a promising sign. And this is the part I was the most concerned about, by the way, whether or not I'd be able to switch the printer. I'm going to pull the power to the KVM and plug it back in and see if maybe that will get things a-rocking. It made no difference because it's probably pulling power off the USB. Let me see if the printer's actually on. I thought it was. Yep, printer's on and everything. I'm just going to shut this guy down and reboot it from power off, and maybe it'll play nicer. And pulling the power to the KVM now does turn it off, so I'm going to plug it back in. It's plugged in. We're going to turn the computer on. And I'm noticing these USB ports in the KVM are labeled 1 and 2. I'm really hoping that that's not computer 1 and 2, because right there I should have heard the printer doing printery things. I'm going to try and switch over to port 1 there, which should be nothing because the other machine's not on. I'm going to try and power the printer up and down too, see if that helps us. So I just repowered the printer. Hit refresh. I don't think this is going to work. Let's try mouseware. Say they should already, clearly they're already unified. Okay, this is good. It's got set point now at least. This would not work before with his old mouse. It just straight up wouldn't give it to me. Showing me the keyboard but not the mouse. I guess I didn't actually unify them before, but you would think it wouldn't work at all if it wasn't. So I moved it off then on, and we're not getting our next step. So that's not working. Awesome. Let's go about this a different way. So now I've plugged the receiver straight into the computer. Still have mouse. We still have keyboard. Let's try this again. Interesting. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do a good old reboot with it just plugged in the way we want it, or the way I'm trying, and we'll see what happens. So after a reboot, it immediately came up and said, hey, you've got more than one receiver. And that's not true, but it's recognizing something changed. Yes, I do. So, okay, move the unifying receiver you just plugged in. Fine. So now I have to plug it back in. It thinks there's two. Okay. That sucks, because the KVM must be preserving what it thinks is there, so I'll remove the USB port from the KVM. Yep, that's what it is. The KVM is doing exactly what I hoped it would do. It's preserving the USB functionality. So let's see if we can just get the mouse to sync. Yeah, that totally didn't work. There's the power button on the keyboard. Maybe that'll force the issue? No effect. This sucks. Okay, screw this. It's not doing me any good. Mouse and keyboard settings. See if maybe I'll get lucky. That's weird because I just put this version of set point on like a month ago. Yeah, and it's listing the literal mouse we have, so okay, let's go get the new version. Is there an easy way to do that? Web updates, check now. Yeah, it was useless. Oh, I'm a moron. Download Logitech options. Oh, I've got to connect it to my Wi-Fi. So I've got it connected to my Wi-Fi now, and it's interesting that it knew there was a new version. I'm going to guess it doesn't actually know, that it just can't support this mouse. So let's go hope there really is a new version. Yeah, last update 1.15.2020. That's newer than what we have, so I'm hoping that's all it is. While this is going on, I did download the manual for the KVM, which is a whopping 1 page and completely unhelpful. One thing that was kind of cool is if this works, it looks like these are discontinued now, so they're half price. They're like 80 bucks now instead of 150. But it looks like the printer should just take off in the front port. I'm thinking I need to change my printer over to hardline connection rather than my Wi-Fi, because my dad doesn't want a Wi-Fi printer, or rather he likes the printer he already has. So hopefully these are both pretty straightforward solutions. As usual, we have a lot of hopeful and not much actual goings on. Yes, install the new one. Run over yonder and see if I can close this before it gets upset. Yep, no. So this is when we pray for rain and that everything goes just fine. We totally don't want to back up our settings to the cloud. Sweet! So we've got mouse. Let's just get out of this and see if we have custom mouse and keyboard settings now. You turd. Let's do the old reboot it. Okay. But if I go to mouse settings, it's going to have the new... No, actually it isn't. Let's just go to Logitech options then. Shows the mouse but not the keyboard. See if it'll pick up the keyboard. Okay, I've done that. It's just going to be a piece of garbage, isn't it? Great. Yeah, the keyboard works. Yeah, imagine that. So I'm going to guess what we need to do here is uninstall everything Logitech and try again. So I'll do that. So I just uninstalled everything and reinstalled it, and we don't get the keyboard in here. Or am I just dumb? Anyway, not going to worry about it because I don't think keyboard customization is going to be a problem. What we do want to do, please, is advanced click hopefully going to be a double click? Yes, thank God. Okay, we want both of these side buttons to do the same thing. So if he hits either one, it double clicks. Let's go try it. Okay, so the forward one double clicked. Okay, they're double clicking now. Awesome. Good. So that's one leg of the disaster dealt with. I'll worry about the keyboard later if I want to. While all this has been going on, I did what I think was a factory reset on my printer to the network settings. So hopefully just plugging it in, it'll just connect via the cord. The printer made no noises whatsoever. Windows isn't doing anything promising either. Gonna guess this isn't gonna work still. And now the printer's plugged straight into the computer. There is no KVM, there's nothing else. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so it installed, that's good news. And that, like I said, that'll be the next thing, is whether or not I can even get Windows XP drivers for it. But if I have to buy my dad a Wi-Fi printer that I think he'll like, then that's what I'll do. He hates the one my mom has, so he thinks all Wi-Fi printers are junk and not just hers. So now let's actually plug all this crap into the KVM and see what happens. Okay, so it's all plugged into the KVM. Mouse works, although I think the acceleration changed. Let's go to our printer, offline. Awesome. Let's reboot everything again. Then we're going to unplug everything, power everything down, and try it again. And right now the printer's off. So let's turn the printer on and hope for the best. Printer is now on. Oh, there it is. It says it's not offline now. Can I print a test page from here? Yes. I'm going to go get some paper. Pretty please actually do action required. That's actually good news. The printer's communicating. Let's go see what the problem is. The printer just says, please wait a while on the display. So I guess that's what we're going to do. But so far so good. This is good news. I am going to go see if I can get XP drivers for that thing while we're waiting a while. So it says, please wait a while again. I'm just going to say okay. Oh, wait. Maybe that was the only problem. Printer's making noises. I think this is going to be all for naught anyway. It doesn't look like there are XP drivers for this printer. I will dig into that deeper. And likewise, I doubt that Logitech set point for XP is going to support this mouse. So I did come up with Windows XP drivers. You're looking at Windows XP right now for my printer. I did get it to print a test page. Everything was all good. It was then that I realized that it's basically out of black ink, and I almost never print stuff, so these ink cartridges just sit around and dry out. I don't want to open a new one until I actually need to print stuff, but just for fun. Boy, I haven't used this in 1,000 years. Will properties actually give me the status of the printer? Oh, near view print status. So right there, printer is online. We're going to switch over to Windows 10. It also says printer status idle, but let's check it again. Printers and scanners, view printer status. Printer is online. Bang. So on both our XP and Windows 10 machines, the printer is picking up with the KVM, and that is awesome. Bad news is I'm pretty sure we're screwed on the mouse, which is going to make my dad really unhappy. He'd probably rather the printer didn't work. Logitech Options needs .NET Framework 4.2 or something like that to install, and that framework is 64-bit only. So, or from what I can tell, it's 64-bit only. It will not install on XP, so therefore I cannot install Logitech Options. What I'm doing now is downloading the Logitech drivers, the latest version of Setpoint, which we saw before. Setpoint didn't work on Windows 10. It's probably not going to work on XP either, but I got to try it. You know, if I don't try it, I won't really know. And when I go to the Logitech software downloads page, it detects that it's a Windows XP computer and gives me no download options, none whatsoever. It won't let me select any software to download. So we'll try this and see how it goes. I know I said I wasn't going to show you guys so much of the XP side because you're a crazy person if you want to still use Windows XP, but this applies to the overall story, so we'll wait and see. But it's awesome that we got the printer to work. Well, as I feared, I can't get the mouse to work, so I have the exact inverse problem I had with his 15-year-old Logitech mouse. Windows 10 wouldn't recognize that one. Windows XP won't recognize the new one. Is what it is. He's just going to have to deal with it. What I'm going to propose, and hopefully save me a bunch of grief, is to just try and install his solitaire game on, well, that's XP, but on Windows 10, and that'll probably get him 75% happy. You know, this is just the stuff that happens when you wait 15 years before updates, and I've been down this road before and kind of knew how this was going to go, but it had to happen. You can't just run on 10-year-old versions of Windows, and hopefully this is the last time he will need to upgrade. You know, like I said, he's 78 years old. Windows 10, I'm going to guess, if we really pushed hard, is probably going to have another 10 years in it in any kind of realistic sense, and by then, who cares? We can just unplug the internet from my dad's computer altogether, and he can play solitaire or whatever he wants to do when he's 88. Anyway, really weird video. The short version is that KVM is legit though. That thing's really cool. So if you happen to have come here and want one, go get one right away because they're basically half price until they're gone. Something that's neat about it that I didn't expect to work, and this is kind of a buyer beware type of thing, but you can hot swap USB sticks between machines. So I had this stick in Windows 10, put some files on it, hit the button, over to XP, XP discovered my new device, and bam, you can read write back and forth just with a USB stick. Probably not the wisest thing to not eject your sticks all the time. You're just begging for data loss, especially with XP. But anyway, that was a really cool thing that I didn't expect this to support, but it worked out. So just to wrap this one up quick, there's XP on my laptop. There's 10. Works super great. This KVM is nice. And there's XP again. And it just found the USB stick again, which is hilarious. This has been a really odd and frustrating project, and I can't imagine many people out there are really going to be interested. But if you've been looking for a really high-grade KVM, at least now I've answered the question of which one you should buy. You should totally buy that one if you need one that's really reliable. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap this video up. As always, appreciate you guys stopping in, and we'll catch you on the next one. I'm Max, that's Saddington Bear, and we make videos like this all the time. Here are a couple links to some other videos we've made, and we really appreciate you guys stopping in.